And we begin at this hour in West Africa, where the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NAC, has mandated electricity distribution companies, DISCOs, to refund customers it's wrongly billed in the wake of a new tariff. NAC recently increased tariff cost for Band A users, but some DISCOs erroneously billed customers who do not fall under the spectrum of the new rate. However, NAC gave the affected DISCOs till April 11, 2024 to refund customers. It also directed DISCOs to ensure that only the newly approved Band A feeders listed in their April 2024 supplementary orders are maintained as Band A for the purpose of vending to prepaid customers and billing for postpaid customers on their networks. NAC warned the DISCOs against flouting the directives. And still on electricity, but this time in the nation's capital, Abuja, the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, ACCI, says the recent hike in electricity tariffs could impact negatively on the ease of doing business in Nigeria. The president, Emeka Obegolu of the chamber, spoke in an interview with journalists in Abuja. Obegolu acknowledged the various challenges already faced by entrepreneurs and investors in the country. Now, he said small and medium enterprises, which are crucial to the country's economy, would be greatly affected by the hike in tariff. He said it would hinder businesses' ability to invest in innovation and expansion and impede their competitiveness in both domestic and international markets. Let's also tell you that the decision to increase electricity tariff has not gone down well with the Nigerian Labour Congress, which has told the federal government to prepare for the consequences of the tariff hike, which it described as wicked and unpopular, stressing that since the government preferred to listen to the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, it should be ready to face the consequences. Earlier, public affairs commentator Benga Oyenuga spoke to us on this development.
To agree with the government that we need to cancel subsidy, but I also, in the same breath, want to disagree with government. I want to agree with government because I know that once they cancel this subsidy, if they do not bring it back through the back door like they did fuel subsidy, then there will be no reason for those who are siphoning money and stealing our commonwealth through this subsidy to be able to steal those money. But I want to disagree with them because if you look at the figure that they have been posting between 2016 and 2024, you would ask yourself, if they told us that in 2016 or 2017, that the amount they were paying for electricity subsidy is less than 500 billion. And between 2017 and 2024, they are already telling us that we are now paying almost 3 trillion naira for electricity subsidy. Then they should give us the figure of the number of buildings, businesses that needed electricity between those year period.
And we'll move away now from that. The Nigerian government, in collaboration with the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, is set to introduce an upgraded national identity card integrated with payment capabilities and social service features. Developed with the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, the card will run on the Afrigo Domestic and Card Scheme. According to Kayode Adegoke, the NIMC's head of corporate communications, this initiative aligns with the NIMC Act number 23 of 2007, aiming to provide a multi-purpose card for Nigerians and legal residents. The enhanced card will facilitate identity verification and access to government and private services, promoting financial inclusion and citizen empowerment while encouraging participation in national development efforts. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu will leave Abuja on Sunday to spend the Eid al-Fitr in Lagos State. Now, this is according to presidential spokesperson Ajure Ngulale, in deference to the solemn occasion, which marks the end of Ramadan. The president will observe the moment in prayers for Nigeria and with family. The president will continue official duties during and after the Eid al-Fitr holidays. And we move away from that now to security matters, where there is now hope that over 800 internally displaced persons in Mango local government area of Plateau State, north-central Nigeria, will soon be returning to their ancestral homes. Now, this was made known by the governor of the state when he received members of a charity organization who paid him a courtesy visit at the government house in Jos after visiting the internally displaced persons camp. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe completes this report.
This has been the plight of families from diverse communities that have settled here for more than 5 months now. These individuals are here because their ancestral homes had been razed down and property destroyed. Several lives were also lost, while many sustained various degrees of injuries in those attacks. They've been living from hand to mouth for as long as they've been here, depending solely on what groups, individuals, and government agencies make available to them in occasions like this.
We have come from Kofi today, to reach out to them with food items, medical supplies, and of course social support, and then ministry materials to also help the state of their minds, their mental state.
These displaced persons wish peace will be restored on the plateau, and with it, their independence.
About 103 people that are displaced. Some have left Mango completely. So those that are within the camp and within the host community are the one that have been taken care by individuals. Sometimes most of the people will go hunger because they don't have food that they will eat within the camp.
We ask the government to help us, to give us a fertilizer so that we can go and farm, because this year we don't have anything to eat.
If we can get a security that are so committed to their service, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your background, if they can stand and defend you, then I think that is one of the reasons why we should go back there.
The state government seems mindful of the minds of the displaced persons, as the governor has promised that their days in the camp are numbered.
We are trusting God that before the rain setting, we will be able to move, if not all, a substantial number. That means that we have to provide security, we have to rebuild some of the homes, we have to also give them some economic empowerment so that they can be able to settle back into their communities.
Above all, their security is more important, as they can have no meaningful livelihood if they are left to defend themselves against marauding gunmen, while government fails in their core responsibility of catering for her citizens. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyonwe.
Staying with security, the Katsina State Police Command said it has neutralized 5 suspected bandits, rescued over 100 kidnapped victims, and recovered 658 rustled animals from March 1st to 31st. Within the period under review, a total number of 51 cases of major crimes such as armed robbery, kidnapping, culpable homicide, cattle rustling, among others, were reported, and 30 cases were charged to court. The state police spokesman, and that is Abubakar Aliyu, disclosed this in a press briefing held at the command headquarters, noting that a total number of 64 suspects were arrested in connection with these cases. He explained that a total number of 9 suspected armed robbers, 11 murder suspects, 29 suspected rapists, and a total number of 19 suspects were arrested for various offenses. The Abia State Governor, Alex Oti, says the reason the people in the state are enjoying relative peace is because he is judicially using the security votes meant for the state. The governor, who stated this during the monthly media chat with the government house at the government house in Umuahia, said the security operatives were able to apprehend the masterminds of the kidnap of the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Abia State University, Uturu, Professor Godwin Omieze, because the state deployed all that was needed for it. Governor Oti also said security of the residents of the state ranked top on his agenda and would spare nothing to keep the state safe. He spoke on other areas his administration has been focusing on.
So the government has been very proactive, procuring all the necessary equipment security is very expensive, and all the things we've done in and around the state is all about security. It's so much so that even when one of us, an academic, was kidnapped some months ago, we located him somewhere in Imo State. We were going to strike, but we felt that if we struck, we may lose him or harm him. And eventually, after they had held him for about 11 days and released him, the leader of the gang was on his way to Turkey. And we picked him up in the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. And we flew him back into Abia State. The second mastermind of that dastardly act, we picked him up in Port Harcourt and brought him here. So some of them think that we are magicians. We are not magicians. We don't practice witchcraft. But if you commit a crime here, we'll get you.
Nigeria's legislative arm of government has been tasked to thrive or strive towards achieving full autonomy and absolute separation of powers from the executive arm of government. Now, this was during the launch of the book, The Legislature and the Challenge of Good Governance in Nigeria, where stakeholders urged members of the parliament to do all they can to contribute to the growth of the nation's democracy, improve good governance, and meet the yearnings of citizens. Amadin Uyi reports.
The session had in attendance both serving and former lawmakers, members of the Catholic Caritas Association of Nigeria, including key stakeholders in the nation's political space. They say Nigeria's legislative arm of government is fundamental to the growth of the nation's democracy.
The legislature is a representation of democracy. And democracy, demo and kratos, simply means the people's power. So it is the power of the people. And the legislature represents what was the original, structure of governance.
Those in attendance say the book being launched focused on the nation's legislative arm of government and proffered recommendations on how to improve their performance, legislative functions, and activities of lawmakers.
The book is timely for me, and then it's coming at a point where in our history as a nation, where the legislature needs to be up and doing because of the fact that the legislature in our time is a bit complicit with the executive in perpetrating issues of corruption against the people of this country.
The content of the book is so rich that every legislator that happens to grab his or her hands on the book will improve in the legislative affairs of the National Assembly, even to the State Assembly.
They also use the opportunity to urge federal lawmakers to strive for full autonomy and separation of powers so that they can improve their functions.
The legislative arms of government is to know that there's a separation between them and the executive branch. There are three branches, the executive, the legislative branch, and the executive. So they should understand their own role. They should not be rubber stamped to the executive. They should be totally independent and play their own role. And if they play their own role and communicate with the constituency which they represent, things will be much better.
If there's clear separation, then the legislature eventually conduct their roles, their functions adequately and perfectly without any interference. It's on that note that the good people of Nigeria can have good governance, and which can lead to the development that we're yearning for. But insofar as the legislature becomes an appendage of the executive, we cannot have this.
They added that the legislature must live up to the expectations of citizens and ensure Nigerians reap the dividends of democracy. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
We continue now with politics, or Nigeria's politics, with Nigeria's governing party, the All Progressives Congress, has assured aspirants vying for the Ondo State governorship ticket ahead of the polls coming up on November the 16th this year of a level playing field. The National Secretary of the party made this known at the party headquarters in Abuja as he received the last batch of the expression of interest forms from some aspirants to close the process for forms submission. Amadin Uyi reports.
It was a carnival of some sorts as governorship ticket hopefuls thronged the All Progressives Congress National Secretariat in Abuja to submit their expression of interest forms. Many of them arrived with their supporters, hopeful to be on the ballot of the Ondo State November 16th governorship polls. The National Secretary of the party assured them that the process will be free, fair, and transparent.
We must create an enabling environment, a level playing field, in such a way that, as the Minister mentioned, anybody that emerges from that process will be able to extend a hand of fellowship and friendship to a person that has emerged as a candidate of the party.
Some of the candidates gave reasons why they are vying for the #1 seat in Ondo State.
Ondo State in particular has many challenges which require a man of courage, a man of vision, a man of sense of direction to stand up for. Created in 1976, for those of you who are familiar with our environment, you will agree with me that there are gaps. We have deficit in every sphere of our life. In respect of road, in respect of power, in respect of school, with education, everywhere there is gap in Ondo State. There are gaps, which I think requires a new order, a new orientation, a new agenda, a new philosophy of delivery in Ondo State.
I am not happy to say that since the demise of Chief Ajasin, Ondo State has really not had an industrial revolution as we anticipated. And without wanting to insult anybody, it is because of the lack of vision of those who were at the aim of affairs. We are going to start from an area where every citizen of Ondo State can participate. How did we grow the economy of the old Ondo State? It's from palm oil. Today, Ondo State is not even the first in the production of palm oil. We are not the first in the production of oil, of rubber. We are no longer the first in the production of cocoa. That is where we need to key in and restore Ondo State back.
The party says that the next phase of the process will be the screening of the candidates. It is expected that those who sail through will be eligible for the party primaries. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
We'll join you in
We are joined by a lawyer and political analyst, Okiki Adeniro. Okiki, it's good to have you join me live. Let's get started, shall we? I want to start by asking how significant is the assurance of a level playing field by the APC for aspirants vying for the Ondo State governorship ticket?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Well, your question is very, very significant, and it is significant because, you know, the party has gone through a lot before now. As a matter of fact, before the governor now was made the governor, the party had gone through a lot of issues. There's been issues about who to become the next governor, who to select, basically. And then having this kind of primary, the direct primary would actually ensure, make sure that the party members, you know, are well assured that they are part of the party. One, number two, to be sure that yes, there are not going to be any issue regarding transparency, fairness, and in fact that the selection of a flag bearer will be done with justice.
Which begs to ask a question about measures, right? Because if you are saying that you're going to make sure that for everyone who's vying for a ticket to be a flag bearer would have a level playing field, what then would now be measures that the APC have put in place to ensure fairness and transparency in the party's gubernatorial primary election process in the state?
Yes, there are so many measures that have been put in place. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we should actually look at is the fact that the National Working Committee has decided to have a direct primary instead of indirect. A direct primary, involves everybody in the party. It involves even the lowest person in the party to elect the flag bearer of the party. And because of this, we can be sure that the APC in Ondo State, they are ready to do the right thing. They are ready to go by anyone who has been elected by the members of the party.
Right. I mean, let's look at impact, right? What impact might the assurance of a level playing field have on the overall dynamics and competitiveness of the gubernatorial race in the state?
Yes, the impact on the general election, yes. The impact will be that right now, by the time the flag bearer is elected at the primaries, what you can be sure of is that APC stands a chance to win this election. And, where a party such as APC has decided to have a direct primary instead of having a group of people select, someone to represent them, it means that at the general election, they can be sure and be well assured that, yes, the person or the flag bearer will actually win the election, and APC will retain the seats of power.
Let's widen this, right, and look at this from a broader perspective in terms of our democracy, right? We just seen Senegal, although that's on a national level when it comes to Senegal, but with APC and the gubernatorial elections and their primaries, and assuring their team or those who are vying for a ticket that they're going to have a level playing field. How does this assurance from the APC align with broader expectations for democratic processes and political parties in Nigeria?
Yes, democracy basically, it's the government of the people. It is time to have the people, do their thing, and it is time for us to have them select the person that they want. If this is done properly in Ondo State, it will actually go to other states. Other parties will, take a cue from this, and then, make sure that they ensure that people are involved in what they do at the party level. Talking about our political landscape, it's going to affect the political landscape positively to the extent that by the time we have such election again, we can be well assured that the party involved in that kind of arrangement, will take the course and have their head up high.
Right. Okiki, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
Okiki Adeniro, their political analyst, talking to me about Nigeria's politics as it pertains to Ondo State's elections. We move away from that now to Nigeria's socioeconomic strata, and this time the nation, In Nigeria, the combination of ongoing low-intensity conflict, a large youth population, and limited economic opportunities has led to high levels of irregular migrants seeking to make the dangerous journey to Europe. Globally, irregular migration and human trafficking have reached crisis proportions in fragile and non-conflict affected states. News Central Bettina Onweli has this report.
Finally, and got to Gatron. When we got to Gatron was where I knew that all along, those persons who had been taking me from one hillocks to another were selling and buying me.
Nigeria continues to experience high internal and external migration due to the size of its population, economic climate, and porous borders. The combination of routine violence and physical insecurity, unfulfilled economic potential, and a young population with frustrated ambitions has led to massive outflows from several Nigerian states.
Naturally, at least if you have 50 million naira, you should be able to travel abroad and settle and get in. And somebody's telling you bring 500,000. That is just a red flag. It looks juicy. But those signs are there. The signs of them telling you, when you bring this thing, and another sign is when you have aunties and uncles that just travel abroad and came back to Nigeria to say, Mama Nkechi don dey grow. You know what? Make I tell you, I go take am go abroad, help her, give her good life. You're not asking her questions that what is this thing that you want her to go and do abroad? Because most of the time, these people carry our sisters, our brothers, our nephews and cousins and all of them. They take them abroad, and what they're expecting them to do is not what they do.
Young, naive, and hopeful, Chilean embarked on a trip to France, but ended up in Libya and never saw the shores of France.
I met some guys who had been beaten badly, daily, and the kind of beating is just out of the world. It's not something you expect. So, you know how you set rubber on fire and you drop it on someone's skin, and imagine over and over doing that same thing every day to someone. Sometimes they plug things in electricity. There is light in Libya 24 hours, so they plug things in electricity and then use it on the migrants. Sometimes they flog with wire and various other things. So those cars, and then they starve you. There's no food for you if you're owing them. So that kind of torture, I saw all of that. And what still, I saw people die. Till now, I've not recovered from that.
Just like Chilean, many young folks seeking greener pastures tend to fall into the trap of groomers and human traffickers, hence the need to know what the telltale signs of fraudulent travels are.
Women are most vulnerable to all these issues. A lot of them have physical abuse, sexual abuse, psychological abuse. They tell you that this is your visa, your visa, this is your this, and you can't tell between a fake and a original visa application that they did for you. So it's important for you to know the right and original documentation when you receive them, when they tell you that yes, they want to take you to Japa. So, and sieving out the information, do research.
The recent quest for migration among Nigerian youths is alarming. The new trend has bred the adoption of the colloquial term Japa among the populace to describe the mass migration in Nigeria. Many believe it is not all lost, provided the government shows the political will to make things right. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
And to health, where research has shown that the majority of working mothers in Nigeria have been able to successfully manage their work-life balance, but a significant portion experience high level of work-life conflict, which is associated with poor physical and mental health, as well as low satisfaction with work and family life. In this report, News Central's Omolola Ololade explores some of the challenges faced by working mothers as they share their experiences and coping mechanism. Take a look.
Rosemary works as the head of the commercial department of News Central Television and also doubles as a wife and mother of two. She says balancing the demands of her job and motherhood is quite challenging.
You need to give your best at work, and of course you also need to give your best at home, which means that you have commitments to the job and you have commitments at home. So that in itself is actually challenging, because sometimes it feels like one has to suffer for the other, and to put in the work to ensure that no one is suffering is close to impossible though.
On one hand of the concept of work-life balance is work, which represent employment, career and professional life, while on the other hand is life, which represent family, social and personal life. Work-life balance is apportioning an equal amount of time for both work and life, a situation Nigerian career women find daunting but achievable by setting the right priorities.
I think for me it's about setting priorities and learning how to carry your children along. And I'm even a very hybrid special parent because I'm a single parent, so that makes it double work for me. But I think what has helped me to succeed, having a great family support, you must have it. And when your children know your routine, it's very, very easy for you to be able to sync.
A recent employee satisfaction report by Jobberman Nigeria reveal that 70% of women are likely to leave their current jobs, 24% are yet to make up their mind, while only 6% are happy to remain. However, when it comes to making a life-changing career choice to leave a job or stay in it, statistics show that women have been found to carry the heavier burden.
I wouldn't advise any woman to completely give up her career. You can take a break sometimes and then go back to it. Like I said, have an arrangement with your spouse if you have a supportive spouse, and put in structures that just kind of like work for you.
Research has also shown that long working hours not only hampers the ability of women to harmonize work and family, but poses a threat to their physical and mental health. Hence the need for all the assistance they can get.
Get help. Pay for quality help. Get good helps in the house. Get a driver. Get a nanny. Get a dry cleaner if you must. Get someone that will iron your clothes. Get someone that will do the market runs. Get it. Pay. And that way you can also try your best to give your career what your career deserves at the time that it deserves what it deserves.
While we're still trying to have a family and be there for them, we still want to go after the things that we have in mind to do for ourselves. So having a balance actually works, and ensuring that you have people around you to actually battle the mental stress of having a family and still going after your career is very, very important.
While men have been implored to participate more in parenting as they support their partners, the support from supervisors and colleagues, according to experts, cannot be overemphasized in achieving a good work-life balance for all, especially for women. In Lagos, for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
The news continues, this time in Rwanda, where dignitaries, visitors and citizens alike have started to trickle in at the BK Arena in Kigali, where the Kubuka 40 commemoration will be taking place. April 7th, 2024 marks the start of Kubuka 30, the 30th commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsis, which began on April 7th, 1994. Meanwhile, despite Rwanda's effort to push for reconciliation between survivors and those who perpetrated the genocide, the journey to healing has been a bumpy road. Rwanda President Paul Kagame is expected to lead the commemoration at the main event at BK Arena this morning. Over 30 dignitaries are present to commemorate this day with Rwanda. And joining us live now is News Central's Bugani Ziziba, who is at the BK Arena in Kigali. Ziziba, a very good morning to you. Can you give us an insight of what is happening there at BK Arena right about now?
Good morning, Judith. Visitors, dignitaries, and so the presidents are here. They have started treating the arena. Started around 7 citizens. The 10-seater stadium is full to capacity. They have come to commemorate the day, a day that means a lot to many. One day in Rwanda, where they are commemorating the 30th commemoration. But rather, this is the first commemoration. We have seen other commemorations that has happened at 29th that happened last year. But this one is very important for the one because it marks 30 years. And the president of the country, Paul Kagame, is going to give a speech. We're going to the celebrations, the commemorations, rather, here in FK Arena. We have also seen dignitaries from all over the world have spoken to the ambassador of France, who also spoke to me and told me how the French people sent him with a message of solidarity to the people of Rwanda. I've also seen the AU Commission, also the president of Tanzania, the president of South Africa is here. They've come here to commemorate with the people of Rwanda. Now the president will be speaking very soon. They are back from the center where they're lighting the candle. That is going to be flame rather. That is going to be on for 100 days. Celebrations on for 100 days. But this week from 7th to the 14th, it's a week where Rwandans are commemorating that day
Ziziba, we're struggling to hear you because of the network, but we'll definitely connect with you with subsequent bulletins to get updates from you as the commemoration unfolds today at BK Arena, Kigali. But Ziziba, many thanks to you, and we'll come back to you soon. And now we'll move on to West Africa, where Togo authorities have jailed 6 opposition members on public order charges after they tried to denounce a contested constitutional reforms. Now, political tensions have heightened since the West African nation's parliament passed the reform law and the government postponed an April 20th legislative election. Opposition parties have called for 3 days of protest next week over the election delay and the reform, which they say is a bid by the president to stay in power. Now, the president in 2005 succeeded his father, who ruled Togo for more than 3 decades following a coup. 9 members of the dynamic Monsonio Bodro, or DMK movement, were detained Thursday after publicly campaigning against the reform. Their lawyer, Ilom Kampa, said that 3 had since been freed and the rest were being held on public order charges. And outside the African continent, a recap of the last 3 months of the Israel-Hamas war from January to April of 2024 as it reaches the 6-month mark. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues to escalate and devastating consequences. The war began with Hamas's October 7th attack that resulted in about 1,170 deaths in Israel, mostly civilians, according to a tally based on Israeli official figures. According to Gaza's health ministry, Israel's retaliatory campaign to destroy Hamas has killed more than 33,000 people, mostly women and children. Large parts of the territory have been reduced to rubble, and most of Gaza's population are now sheltering at its southern tip, Rafah.
الوضع زي الزفت، لكن ولا شرب مجاعة تامة. ايش بدنا نسوي؟ تضحكوا علينا بحبة أكل صغيرة حق علبة تونة. بروح الإنسان بموت عشان علبة تونة لا تعادل $4.
We have to find solutions to this. We can't turn away from what is evidently a moral failure in the face of the international community.
It is our only hope. It's time to truly flood Gaza with life-saving aid. The choice is clear, either surge or starvation. Let's choose the side of help, the side of hope, and the right side of history.
Gaza's President Kassim Jomart Tokayev says that the floods in the border region with Russia may be the biggest natural disaster in over 80 years. Tokayev adds that a state of emergency was declared in 10 regions and that the situation is difficult, but there is no need for despair. Earlier, Russia said it had evacuated 4,000 people in the Oranbeg region in the southern Urals near Kazakhstan due to flooding after a dam burst.
В связи с тяжелой ситуацией с весенними паводками после обильного снеготаяния произошла природная катастрофа, равной которой не было многие годы. Возможно, это самое крупное бедствие по своим масштабам и последствиям за последние 80 с лишним лет. Из-за паводков режим чрезвычайной ситуации местного масштаба объявлен в 10 регионах страны. На борьбу со стихией мобилизованы все ресурсы.
And on to economic issues, but this time in Southern Africa, where Zimbabwe's Reserve Bank has launched Zim Gold, called Zinc, a new currency backed by gold and foreign reserves, aiming to combat hyperinflation and stabilize the economy. The governor of the bank announced the currency's introduction alongside a market-driven exchange rate intending to simplify and bring predictability to financial transactions. Existing Zimbabwe dollar balances will be converted into Zing, circulating alongside other currencies. The new banknotes featuring gold ingots and iconic balancing rocks will be available in 8 denominations. Citizens have a 21-day window to exchange old currency for the new one. The move reflects efforts to reform or to restore confidence in the economy and address long-standing financial challenges in Zimbabwe. Earlier, a Zimbabwean journalist, Gary Tuhira, spoke to us on this development.
It's a long ride for the new governor, John Mshayabana. I think we have been down this path several times. We have had the Viera checks way back in 2006-7. We had the bond note in 2016. We had the Zim dollar in 2019. So we have done it again and again. But it won't be an easy ride for the new governor. Just the best.
Let's now join our Udoka Unjoku with sports news.
And in sports, starting off with rugby, Cabra Sugar retained their Kenya Cup title after beating their bitter rivals KCB in a showdown staged at Kakamega Showground. The 29-5 win saw the Sugar Millers win the cup and become one of the clubs to have achieved a three-peat in the tournament's history. Now the win in Kakamega seals their dominance against the Bankers. They now enjoy 4 wins in a row under coach Carlos Katwea. Now the coach has had an impressive run with the Giants after going 26 matches unbeaten. And in basketball, defending champions Rivers Hoopers fell to a 64-52 defeat against Ghana's Spintex Knights in the second semi-final game at the ongoing Louis Edem Invitational Basketball Championship. Now in a game that was a rematch of last year's final, Ghana's Spintex Knights had a near-perfect display that saw them avenge their loss to the Kingsmen in the final match of the last edition. On the final day of the tournament, Rivers Hoopers finished third after the Kingsmen defeated Lagos Raptors by 102-68 points, making them the first team to reach the 100-point mark. And in football, Bayer Leverkusen are just 3 points from a first Bundesliga title after a 1-0 win at Union Berlin on Saturday, with Bayern Munich letting a 2-goal lead slip in a 3-2 loss at Heidenheim. Bayern, who were leading at halftime thanks to strikes from Harry Kane and Serge Gnabry, but conceded 3 times in the second half, losing their second match in a row. Xabi Alonso's side need just 3 points from the remaining 6 matches to clinch a first league title in the club's history. Now Bayern, on a streak of 11 straight Bundesliga titles, could surrender their crown next week in between the first and second legs of the Champions League quarter-final clash against Arsenal. And in the world of car racing, Max Verstappen led the race. And that's a wrap on Sport Updates. I am Udoka Njoko. The news continues shortly.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu to observe Eid al-Fitr holidays in Lagos. Electricity distribution companies in Nigeria have been mandated to refund wrongly billed customers. We also told you that Rwanda is today commemorating the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis. Remember that you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. And make sure to follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith, Atibi.